know we're going to make it back, but I cannot tell you. Hey,
Hey.
I didn't know you were taping. So, you see my new outfit.
Oh, fashionable.
Compliments of my husband who soaked this in cold water, and I decided to run with it. And yes, I know it looks dorky, but it really feels good.
And it is hot as the surface of the sun out here.
Try this at home, boys and girls. You would really enjoy it. So Lavonda's dragged me out here. We're a little short of 7 miles. We have to do 7 to go back. And it is just, I know it's 90 degrees. It is really hot.
Yep.
I mean, this sounded like a really good idea several months ago. Right now, it's not sounding like a good idea.
Warning for those who want to train for a fall
It's
marathon.
just crazy.
Right.
Pick a March marathon, and you can train all winter.
We're at the very end of the Anacostia Trail.
Oh, get that sign, trail ends here.
Oh, here we go. Trail ends here.
Which is approximately 7 miles.
So we are doing an out and back, which means we are going to head back in a second. Somebody was ingenious enough to put a picnic table here. This is new. This wasn't out here last summer. So you get to chill for a minute, taking some hydration before you head back that way. So that's what we're doing. What you talking about today, Val? We'll talk later.
Yeah, we'll talk later. We'll find something of interest to talk about. Oh, we're going to talk about asthma.
Woo! Yes. Exercise-induced asthma.
Yeah,
That's
we're
a
gonna
good
talk
one.
about asthma.
All right.
It's a
We'll
fun
check you
topic.
later. Bye-bye. Well, we just finished up a 14-mile run. Actually, it was probably more like 14 and a half. But now we're here at the Greenbelt Farmers Market to get some fresh produce and some of our favorite treats. Zeke's iced coffee, really, really good. And shrimp and grits. The great post-race meal. I'm going to meet up with Val. She's over buying some more fresh produce. And we will cover, I forget what topic she's covering today, but she's the coach, and I'm sure she has something great for you.
So, I was trying to count how many weeks this is.
I think it's 10.
10? Okay. So we started on Mother's Day, and we truly celebrated. Our first run was, I believe, 8 miles, and now we're up to 14. 14 and a little over, maybe 15. But I wanted to talk about the use of the inhaler and why it's so important. And I found out many years ago I was in a race, a nighttime race. It was the Rockville Twilighter, and it was a 5-mile race, and I was at the starting line. And one of my former coaches was right next to me, and she said, "Did you bring your medicine?" And I said, "What medicine?" She said, "For your asthma." I said, "I don't have asthma." And she said, you're wheezing. I hear you wheezing." And then I listened to myself, and I was wheezing. But I've been wheezing for a long, long time. I just thought that was normal. I thought that's how I breathed. So, of course, I'm running the race thinking I'm going to die at any moment, and I didn't. And then that Monday, I made an appointment to see my doctor, and he gave me a peak flow meter to take home, where I started, blowing and measuring my air capacity every day. And after a couple of weeks, I took the results in, and he says, yes, it's normal during regular time, but you have what we call exercise-induced asthma. So you need to have an inhaler with you when you run, and then you do any kind of strenuous exercise, and take 2 puffs 20 minutes before you start, and then the rest as needed. And so that was in the late 90s, around the time that I ran my first marathon in 1999. And so I always carried an inhaler, never had an attack, never had a problem, but wasn't very conscientious about checking to see if there was enough medicine in the inhaler. And so, flash forward to June 9th of this year, and Lavonda and I had finished our 11-mile run. We were at the National Harbor. I was finished, and of course, me, I pull out a jump rope and start extolling the virtues of foot turnover and why jumping rope is so good for running, and I ran out of breath. And it was almost as if my respiratory system was trying to bail on me. And laid on the car, and after a few minutes, LaVonda said, "Should I call an ambulance?" I said, "Yeah, I guess so." And so then I found out, after my first ambulance ride, that I don't have exercise-induced asthma. I have asthma, the real asthma. So now I have to carry an inhaler. So this is a aero chamber, which they give really to little kids or people who really don't know how to have a correct dosage. And what I do is, 20 minutes before I run, I push down and then I breathe into the inhaler over 10 seconds to make sure that I'm getting enough, and I do it several times, and then I take a second, push this down for a second time, and then I breathe again, 10, 15 seconds, and then I'm good to go. And I've not had an incident since then. I don't carry this whole thing while I'm running, but I carry the inhaler.
And I'm responsible for doing the inhaler check. Do you have your inhaler before we start?
Well, not only do we have an inhaler, do we have a full inhaler?
A full inhaler,
Because
right.
at that time, I had 2 inhalers. One was completely empty, and the other one had some left, but apparently it wasn't enough. And so now, and I didn't tell you this, LaVonda, but I actually am running with 2 inhalers.
Good.
Even though I only need one, I don't know when it's going to run out.
Right.
It doesn't have a counter, which I need to talk to my doctor when I get a refill, because I've had ones before that had a counter, and you could tell how many puffs were left.
Now, question. I know a lot of people who have asthma, and they say they have asthma, and they say that's why they don't do strenuous exercises, aerobic type exercises like running. Has your doctor ever told you or advised you not to run, or how do you feel about that? Do you think?
I'll tell you how I feel, but let me tell you what he said, because my pulmonologist laughed and said, "Are you kidding?" No. He said, "You ran 11 miles and then you had trouble after you stopped?" I said, "No, you keep it up." I said, "Well, how will I know if it's more serious?" He said, "If you start to need your asthma medicine more than twice a day, then you come back and we'll put you on nebulizer treatments." Now, I didn't want to hear anything like, "You can't run." So I went to a pulmonologist who understood that this was a part of my life that I needed to get out and be active. And I have a cardiologist too, because believe it or not, I have a leaky heart valve, which I understand is very common. And I go to him for an echocardiogram every year, and I just had it a week ago, and it's all systems go, everything's great. So I'm not having any problems there, but I always ask them, should I stop running? And they look at me like I'm crazy. No, you're doing great. Keep it up. So to those people, I would say you're using it as an excuse not to do anything. Now, let's talk about the flip side. I have a 10-mile training program we meet on Saturdays, and yesterday we did a very grueling 7-mile run in Greenbelt Park, which those of you who have run in Greenbelt Park know it's rather hilly. And I'm coming back, and one particular woman who is just a wonderful runner, and she is also a Weight Watcher, and I know her pretty well, and I pull up alongside her, and this is what I hear. I said, "You have asthma?" "Yes." She keeps going. I said, "Where's your medicine?" "In the car." And then I'm talking to another of the runners who's faster, and she says, "My husband has asthma, and he's one of the fastest runners in our 10-mile group." I said, "Does he carry his inhaler?" "Oh no, he leaves it at home." So I made an announcement at the end of the run. I'm so glad we're all here, we finished. Starting next Saturday, you cannot go out with us unless you have your inhaler. And I had to tell them the story of my emergency room visit, and I showed them my inhaler. I said, "I'm doing an inhaler check. You cannot go without it. I'm sorry, you got to carry it, get a belt, figure out how to do it, but that's not happening on my watch. It's so dangerous, especially, it's 90 degrees out. You cannot not have it." And I also feel the same way about hydration. They cannot run with me unless they have something, and actually I bring a cooler full of iced drinks because after like 3 miles, you know, people their stuff is all gone. They're depleted, and I have extra. I always carry a cooler of stuff because really, they underestimate. You know, these are resources. These are tools that we absolutely need to keep going in. To have asthma and not have your inhaler, I think, is unconscionable. And as a running coach, I'm not going to take responsibility for other people. So that's the story. So anyway, the Aeroflow chamber, I don't get any
no endorsements, no kickbacks, no.
But you know, when I first saw it, I was kind of pissed because I thought I can measure, but this is really good.
Apparently not.
Yeah. Well, first thing I had to check to see if it was any in it. But you know, the thing is, it's a really good thing for me to do to get into the habit. When we get ready on Sunday mornings for these runs, it's not just the asthma. It's, did I have bug spray? Did I take a Zyrtec? Because
sunscreen.
All the pollen.
Right.
Sunscreen. Okay, now we haven't even gotten to, do we have goo? Do we have electrolyte drinks? Do we have water?
Did I have a sufficient breakfast?
Yeah, did I eat breakfast?
Did I go to the bathroom?
Did I go to the bathroom? I mean, all these things, you think you just get up, jump into your stuff, and go. No. We take money.
Yep. Identification.
We take identification. We take, you know, actually today I had my little hand sanitizer because, you know, we stop at the porta potties. You never know what you're going to find. And so there's a lot of preparation that goes into it. But all in all, I think it's worth it. We get in a good run. We feel good. And we live to come to the farmer's market, eat good stuff like shrimp and grits. And what else did you get?
Bourbon bread pudding.
Bourbon bread pudding. I got a shrimp and oyster po' boy that's sitting in my car that I cannot wait for me to get home so I can bust that out. That's it.
All right. Okay, so bottom line, there's no excuse not to get out here. Asthma, age, or anything else. We're out here doing our thing and having a good time and having, enjoying life at the farmer's market, eating shrimp and grits and po' boys and bread pudding. Life is good. What was it, 14 miles this week?
A little bit more. 14
What's next week?
Next week we'll do 15.
Next week, 15. See you next week. All right, this right here is the best shrimp and grits and gumbo in town. We stop here every Sunday after our long run. Puddin' Divine Comfort Food. It's excellent. In Greenbelt Market, what's this? Greenbelt Sunday Farmers Market. And where else are you guys around town?
We're also at Eastern Market.
Eastern Market. All righty. Come check it out. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. That's bread pudding.
You don't have me bigger than that tent, do you?
I know. You look very handsome. See you next week.
Okay.